Hey there, fellas. So check this out. You'd obviously recall us trying all sorts of transparent parts for a car, and we've been meaning for some time to try transparent shock absorbers, to observe how they work on the inside. Right here you'll see I've got a regular shock absorber, and this is a glass tube, which was actually quite difficult to find. Of this type, anyway. We were looking around to see what we can get, and we were able to acquire this. Yes, it's quite a large diameter, but I don't see that as a major issue. It won't much affect the visual aspect. And so we've got our thick-walled glass tubing right here. And glass, when it's rolled up into a tube like this, should be pretty durable. And difficult to either blow up from the inside or crush from the outside. And using this piece of glass tube, we should be able to make us a transparent shock absorber. If I can direct your attention over here now, this is us doing a bunch of maths, measurements, brainstorming and such. We've actually erased a lot of what was on here. Anyway, we'll start with a simple single tube shock and see how it works. There will, of course, be minor errors, but I guess we'll just have to sort them out as they come up. The end goal is to find the simplest and most reliable solution for a shock that would function properly. We've been trying to figure out the dimensions. I can, of course, summarize all of this for you, but better save that for later. But now let's make us a transparent shock absorber and see how it works. Let's do this. We make a transparent gas-charged shock absorber. Translation and voiceover by BMI Russian. Yeah, pour it in. Check out what we got here, guys. Here we've made a couple of lovely flanges. This is the upper one, that will be the lower. And here's how the tube is going to be positioned. We place one of the flanges on top, and inside we're going to be running a rod and a piston. So this is what we're going to use to build it, and this is a long stud. One of those that we'll be using to secure the whole thing. We'll have 3 of those in total. Now, the reason we're going for a sort of serviceable type is that we need some way of filling it with oil. The piston will be made of hard plastic. We'll fit all of the rubber seals and such. And yeah, let's prepare everything we'll need, piece it together, conduct a few tests, and see how the transparent shock absorber works. Let's carry on. Check this out, guys. Here we have the shock, and it's doing something interesting. Look at this. The piston is on its way down. We've got oil bypass happening. It's all good. Here it is moving along, and in this spot, as you can plainly see, it's resisting. I can't push it down any further. It just rebounds. The reason being that the rod is entering the tube and reducing its internal volume. As a result, while it can still compress the air, the rod is pushing the oil out, but there is a tiny air bubble in there, which I can still squeeze while it's still moving. But after that, nope, won't go any further. And so in order to sink it deeper, we'll need to make this air bubble a bit larger. So the rod, we undo the nuts, bring the rod further down, expel the excess oil, and then secure everything once again. Or we can install a filler connector. Anyway, the point is, this isn't going to work with the tube full of oil. This is a single tube shock absorber, and in the end, you got that familiar effect. The one we witnessed when we made custom steel shocks. But now you can actually see it all happening. And you actually got a very good view. Right at the very end, you've got that knock. Check this out, guys. We've removed some of the oil, and now the travel equals the length of the rod. However, that thing when it's at the limit with the air, you can see what's happening with that knock. You'd recall how we've dealt with this before when we made those metal ones. And so look here. When I move this back and forth energetically, the air, it begins to, I don't know, dissolve in the oil. The big bubble disperses into a bunch of tiny ones. And as a result, the oil starts to, well, look, it's really murky. And that tells us that the oil is going to be actively foaming, meaning the shock won't work as it's meant to. And so in order to eliminate the foaming and to ensure proper travel through and through, we need to make some sort of equalizer to offset the excess volume that's being pushed out by the rod. Yeah, let's assemble everything and see how it all works. Let's do this. So check this out. Here's the new setup. We've replaced the old oil with Dexron to make this properly see-through. And here we've got another piston, as well as a chamber filled with air beneath it. And check out how this is gonna work. That piston is moving down. Still a bit of air left, but oh well. And now when we lift this up, the second piston also starts to move upwards. Oh wow, you know what? That thing with the knock, it is no more. Which is quite nice. That is just terrific. Yeah, there is a bit of air. There's really no way to purge that little recess. There's still a tiny bit of air left, which isn't ideal. But what can you do? The piston has moved down because of the increase in liquid volume. Bring this up, and that lifts the piston. Let's pump a bit of pressure in to make it harder to move. See how that affects the stiffness. See that? Yeah, the little ball of air. It is having a rough time because of the pressure. Yeah, that is a lot of pressure. Who knows how much is left? It's not a lot of volume, so it escapes quickly. Okay, well, I don't feel any change in resistance. Give me something that can pump air at a fast rate. Okay, let's try this out. Hopefully it's still 2 kilos in there. But let's see, shall we? Yeah, there is more resistance in the end. That is very nice indeed. Yep. The lower piston is doing something. And it's quite a noticeable effect. Look at it going down. With the oil volume moving it down. And when we bring the rod up, that also lifts the lower piston. Well, now that this works so well, yeah, that is just excellent. Anyway, let's go ahead and fit this to a car and see how it performs as an actual car component. Let's get to it. Check this out, guys. We've fitted it to a car. You can see how and where it's positioned. And we have cut out a lot of metal here to keep it out of our way and for us to have a clear view of the shock. And another thing we did, the chamber that compensates for volume increase currently has no excess pressure inside at all. We've gone ahead and released it. So again, no excess, and the shock absorber is fully functional. But given there's no excess pressure, you saw me compressing the shock while it was still on the bench, and the oil was actually foaming. But now let's go ahead, yeah, it's about the same situation as before, but let's go for a drive with no pressure, on a simple oil-filled shock, and see what happens to that oil. Right, we're also going to... That was the car, dude. We've put some extra load onto the rear end. Now let's drive and see how she do. Sergey has got the best view back there. We don't have a display that would show us. I don't know what to make of it yet. It's supple. Yeah, that's because you're seated back there. We've loaded the car up, it's all good. Terrific. And we've made it to a lovely patch of road, which will allow us to properly test it. I am curious to see what it's doing. Like, super curious. We've got some ruts and potholes, very nice. I won't be going too fast, I mean, it is made of glass and it won't be able to cope with stress the same way a steel shock would. It should be durable enough though. It would suck if it bursts early on. But I have a feeling we'll be alright. If it made it this far. Oh, you've synchronized your phone with the camera, nice. Oh, it is working very well indeed. There's plenty of travel, we can even rock the car. Nice. Though I think... Is that foaming I'm observing in the image? Yeah, like I said before. Here's the situation, guys. We've driven around, and you can tell that there is bubbling all throughout the tube. The oil is not pressurized, so apparently with the piston moving up and down, there's a vacuum in one of the chambers, and air somehow finds its way into the oil. You can clearly see all of the bubbles, so yeah, this is foaming. And so here's what I suggest we do now. Let's pump some... So that chamber we've actually designated as a compensator chamber. That offsets the change in oil volume that occurs when the rod moves up and down. Anyway, let's put some pressure into it, to also pressurize the oil. And from there we see if it continues to foam and how that affects shock absorber operation. Oh cool, they're already bringing the hose over. We'll pump some air in and go do some more driving. So look here, we've pumped the air in, and immediately you can tell that the oil is no longer contaminated with air. And that is very nice. Now let's see how the shock works with the compensator chamber containing excess pressure. Okay, get in and let's go. Time to drive with the chamber pressurized. Can someone synchronize the camera and the phone, please? I want to be able to observe what's happening back there. You gonna turn it on? I don't know if I feel any meaningful difference, though, with the chamber containing pressurized air. Look at how the rear end handles the bumps. Superb. No knocking. I don't want to go any further. Nah, those aren't even... Yeah, it works pretty well, I'd say. It is very convenient to be able to see what's happening back there. I mean, typically I'd have no idea what's going on. It'd all be shrouded in mystery. But it looks super cool, man. I did want to be able to see what it's doing, honestly. Yeah, dude, I can also have a seat in the back. What's the problem? Nobody's stopping me, right? Wanted to see how a shock behaves. And now I have a great view and a great understanding. Right, let's go take a look. Can I say something? What? It wasn't foaming. Really? Well, it wasn't supposed to with the pressure. What up? We good. This is excellent. No air bubbles, no foam. And crucially, it works just like it should. Check this out, guys. This was a success. We did it. Given that we're running that second piston with a compensator chamber, this makes for what is almost a proper gas-charged shock absorber. Most importantly, we had a glimpse of how it all works. Now we know why foaming occurs inside a shock. When you've got a lack of excess pressure, accompanied by a vacuum effect, you get a sort of degassing. Yeah, that's what you have going on. The air that is contained inside the oil gets released, and the oil starts foaming. But as soon as you put a bit of pressure behind the second piston, voila. By a bit, I mean 2 kilos. That solves the problem. No more foaming of the oil occurring. With it under pressure, it stays at baseline, and the shock works as it should. And that is definitely a 107% success rate. One point of contention was whether the glass would hold up, with all of it being held together with those long studs. Not to mention the glass isn't necessarily shatterproof, so hard impact would have hurt. Not that it was even experiencing much impact. But at the end of the day, this held up, and we are golden. And that's all I got for you. You saw it all for yourselves, and we all got a very good view indeed. Watch us, subscribe, send in your suggestions, comment, and that's it for this video. Catch you guys later.